Here, let's discover this together. Remember, there are no experts. We are all practitioners. Here's the one thing I want to remind all of us this morning about parenting. Parenting is a decision to disrupt your life forever. When you look at her and you look at him and you say, you know what, baby, now I think maybe we should have us a baby. Here's what you should say instead. Hey, let's disrupt our lives forever. Let's make a decision right now. Let's conceive us a child so that it can never be just about you and me anymore, ever. When I signed up in my late 40s for the Ironman race to celebrate my 50th birthday, initially I did not understand how much training for an Ironman would totally disrupt my life. You don't just sort of do an Ironman. It's 140.6 miles in about 12 hours. Yeah, well, a couple of my Ironman buddies understand, right? It disrupts your life forever, right? When you decide to have a child, you are saying out loud, let's be disrupted. Likewise, although this week we're not talking about marriage, that was the last 2 weeks, when you decide to marry somebody, to lean into that relationship, you're inviting disruption because it's no longer just about you. Here's the rub, is many of us want to have the cuteness of a kid while we're still single in our fraternity and our sororities. That's the rub. The rub is we want a baby like a puppy. We want the cuteness of it, but we don't really want to lean in and to fully embrace the reality. The reality, ladies know all too well, of how a body is going to be stretched way out of proportion. The ongoing changing diapers. You got it good. I can tell you in the early 90s, I don't know who decided this, but they decided that the whole disposable diapers wasn't good. You didn't really love your children. So there was this fad in the early 90s with our first one, Emily. It was all about cloth diapers. So they did their nasty in the cloth diapers and then you washed them out. For our second child, we used disposable diapers. Right? Then there's all the clothes and they're growing, the food. And let's not even begin to talk about the money. The money that it costs to raise a child. Then, of course, you got the temper tantrums, right? When you're trying to get going along and they decide, nope, I'm not going to get going along, right? You notice you do not have to teach the word no. They come hardwired to say no. They come hardwired to be selfish, right? Then there's all the diarrhea. There's the vomit, the snot. Then there's a wonderful moment called puberty. When all of a sudden, you're not even sure if they're a human being anymore, they're just a monster. And you're looking for some place, like in the Walmart line, that you can take them back and say, it was okay for a season, but no longer, right? Then there's that moment when all of the negative traits that your spouse tells you about you, now you see them in this little one. And you're just like, oh my goodness. Then, of course, we got T-ball, we got city ball, we got travel ball, we got county ball, we got school ball, we got fall ball, we got summer ball, we got spring ball, we got football, we got basketball, we got racquetball, we got dancing, swimming, we got lacrosse. I mean, you're just an Uber driver. You don't have a life. It just goes on and on and on. Now, to be clear, there's also the disruption of that little voice that says, I love you. The first time you feel that little hand in your hand and you walk on the beach together. When they write you that first little note and tell you that they love you. The first day of school, graduations. That moment when they look into your eyes and they choose to trust you, believe in you. It's a disruption. I just want to say, and I've given you this quote before, but it's all about the commitment. When you make a decision that you're going to be a parent, that you're going to conceive. It's a line in the sand that for the rest of my natural life, I am choosing to be disrupted by this other human being. And I know this to be true about commitment. Until I'm committed, this was true in my Ironman race. You don't just dabble in that sport. You've got to be all in. There's always gonna be a hesitancy until you commit to draw back. But the moment I definitely commit myself, then the miracle happens. God moves in. All kinds of resources and events and people come alongside that begin to help us. All manner of unforeseen incidents, meetings, persons, material assistance, which I could have never dreamed would come my way, begin to flow towards me the moment I make a commitment. So I just wanted to remind us this morning that when you decide to have sex, call it make love. You can have birth control and all the other things, but understand there is an end moment in that process. A sperm connects up with an egg, and a human being is conceived and delivered, and your life is disrupted forever. Be okay with it. Decide that that's what you want. Sit down and consider the cost. This incredible gift that God gives us. But pause. Now you may be like, Mark, I wish you'd have told me this before I had one. The worst place to decide for a baby is in the bedroom. Much better sit at the kitchen table, get your pros and cons list out, and make a decision. You have been called by God to bring this other human being into the world, and that you're okay that the rest of your life will be disrupted.